that yourself, Leona? That's going to.
Yep, that's your recording now.
Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this meeting of the Education Committee. I wonder if we can begin with apologies for absence.
Thanks, Chair. I've had apologies from Dr. Angel this morning, but haven't had any others so far.
Thank you. And I should say welcome to you, John. I think this is the first occasion that you've clerked Education Committee, so very welcome.
Thank you, Chair. First time flying solo. Hope to do a good
job. So we will be kind to you, of course. Are there any declarations of interest this morning in respect of any items? No? Okay, well, with that business dealt with, we'll move straight to item 3, which is a report on getting it right for every child in East Renfrewshire. We, as part of this item this morning, we're going to have a number of presentations. So I'm delighted that we are joined by Shirley Gibson, who's Deputy Head Teacher at Williamwood High School. You're very welcome. And Anthony Hutchison, who's the Head Teacher at St Mark's Primary in Barrhead. So we're going to hear from them to really get a flavour of how GIRFEC is working in our secondary and primary sector. But firstly, Ms McColgan will speak to this item, and I believe this is Ms McColgan's first paper at committee. So you're very welcome as well. And if you want to take us through the paper, we'll then hear the presentations.
Thank you, Convener. The purpose of this paper is to inform elected members on how getting it right for every child, GIRFEC, is embedded within East Renfrewshire settings and schools. Elected members will be aware that getting it right for every child is the national policy framework in Scotland, improving outcomes and supporting the wellbeing of children and young people by offering the right help at the right time from the right people. It's underpinned by the following principles. It's child-focused and children and families are at the centre of decision making with support available to them. It's centred around the wellbeing of children and young people within their communities. It's based on identifying and addressing needs early to ensure that the right support is implemented and later difficulties are avoided. It's focused on joined up working, with services working in a coordinated way alongside families to meet needs and improve wellbeing. And it's focused on intervention approaches based on clearly planned outcomes. Our aim is that in our settings and schools, all children and young people will grow and learn in environments where they're safe, healthy, active, nurtured, achieving, respected, responsible and included. Key strengths highlighted within this report include consistent stage approaches to wellbeing planning, high quality support provided by our educational psychology team, thorough tracking of progress, increasing range of supports for wellbeing and in particular our Healthier Minds service, embedding a culture of ethos and nurture, and creative approaches to ensuring effective transitions in order to meet the needs of children and young people, particularly during COVID-19, which included virtual tours, films, outdoor sessions and online meetings. There's excellent partnership working in East Renfrewshire. The Children and Young People's Plan for 2020 to 2023 places GIRFEC approaches and children's rights at the heart of its vision. The following key strengths in our partnership working are identified in the report. Healthier Minds service involving personnel from CAMS, Children's First, Educational Psychology, Social Work and School Nursing team to provide support for mental and emotional wellbeing. Alignment of partnership working to the principles of the promise, including the joint investigative interview and pilot, work of the Champions Board, signs of safety approaches and the implementation of a high quality development programme for all partners. Improved emotional health and wellbeing for children and young people and their families through working collaboratively with Children's First Family Wellbeing Service, empowering families to find solutions and make decisions through our partnership with Children's First Family Group Decision Making Service, and a strong collaborative approach to the protection and safeguarding of children across all departments within the Council, and a comprehensive career-long professional learning programme in place to build the capacity of all staff. GIRFEC continues to be the right approach to improve the wellbeing of children and young people, and this approach is embedded throughout our settings and schools. In line with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, It places children and young people's needs first and ensures that they are listened to and understand decisions that are made which affect them. In light of the additional support for learning review, all of our children and all of their potential, GIRFIC has currently been refreshed, and the outcome of this refresh will inform future planning and practice. I'm now delighted that Shirley Gibson, who's Deputy Head of William Wood High School, and Anthony Hutchison, Head Teacher of St Mark's Primary School, have agreed to join us today to further share the quality of support taking place in their schools. Elected members are asked to note and comment on the contents of the Education Department report and Getting It Right for Every Child.
Sorry, I'm realising that I was muted there for the entire contribution I just made. No, I was just saying thank you, Siobhan, and we'll just pass straight to Shirley and Anthony.
Thank you. So my name's Shirley Gibson. I'm Deputy Head Teacher at William Wood High School. I'm delighted to be here, and it's lovely to meet you all. I have met some of you before. And I am really excited about sharing our whole school approach to GIRFIC with you. I will say that I have to attend another meeting with Education Scotland. So again, if I will stay in the meeting as long as possible after I've given my presentation, but if you do see me leave, apologies in advance. It's just to make you aware I do have another scheduled meeting. So I lead the pastoral team at William Wood High School, and we've been working very hard on getting it right for every child. Now, am I able to move these slides on myself? Thank you. So what did our whole school approach entail? I've tried to really focus on the key points. So for us, that was building the capacity of staff. So teacher professionalism is really important, and it's a very high agenda nationally, actually, but certainly it has been for a number of years in East Renfrewshire Council. Staff are looking for high quality CLPL opportunities, specifically in the field of health and wellbeing, and we've been able to capitalise on that. Nurture is a huge feature of our ethos at William Wood High School. We've got a nurture and a ethos of nurture and support. We track health and wellbeing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move through the presentation. We've also embedded in the curriculum and the school timetable a number of interventions to support wellbeing. We also support our parents and we support staff. So it's really important when you are delivering health and wellbeing that staff are at the forefront of that. By that, I mean the wellbeing of staff. And we've taken steps to build in reflective supervision for staff, which really takes away the fear of delivering the GIRFIC agenda. This is just a flavour of some of the training that our staff have gone through. All staff are trained in nurture, so that's the whole school has been trained in nurturing approaches. I brought in the educational psychology team and they delivered nurture training for all staff. 60 staff have been trained in Scottish mental health first aid. 2 staff, including myself, are Scottish mental health first aid trainers. All of the pastoral team and a number of key people are trained in ASSIST, which is suicide prevention. Staff have now been trained in signs of safety, which is to do with child protection. We're trained in LEOM, let's introduce anxiety management, seasons for growth, child sexual exploitation. The list goes on, to be honest, but that's just a flavour of the training that our staff have received in order to build capacity. We set up a Nurture Hub in 2018. It's a whole school resource. It's staffed by principal teachers of pupil support and learning support teachers. All the staff that work in the Nurture Hub are trained in nurturing approaches, and the curriculum is focused on building relationships, managing emotions and developing communication. And we use a curriculum, a nurture curriculum, when we're working with young people in the hub. So how do we track health and wellbeing? We use a questionnaire. You may have heard of the Glasgow Motivation Wellbeing Profile. Now, we did look at that, and that gets a lot of very good press. Ours is similar, but for our context in William Wood, we really wanted to have something that enabled us to focus in on mental well-being, because within our context, these were the issues that we were dealing with. So our questionnaire is slightly different to the Glasgow one. We've developed it ourselves. We focus on mental health, Shannari, and participation. So we've added in a section to try and establish whether young people are involved in clubs and groups and hobbies, and are they engaged in something. This is followed up by an interview with the Principal Teacher of Pupil Support. All young people who complete the questionnaire then get interviewed, and there's a discussion with them in terms of their responses. This can trigger an intervention. Now, the interventions can be early interventions, or they can actually be some kind of crisis support. But you can see there's a list of some of the interventions that can be triggered in response to the wellbeing questionnaire. I would like to say, though, at this point, that these interventions are not just solely triggered by the wellbeing questionnaire. These interventions are offered throughout the school year in the timetable. So in 2019-20, we tracked half the school. Unfortunately, we went into lockdown, if you can remember, in March. That was the first lockdown, so we didn't get to complete this with everyone, but we completed it with almost half of our pupils. And this is what they told us. 97% of them agreed they were safe at school. I'll just let the bubbles come in and they kind of speak for themselves. So these are our wellbeing indicators. And we can move on. So we then did this again. We started this in August when we came back after lockdown. And again, unfortunately, because of the second lockdown, we've not managed to do this with everyone again. We've done it with about half the school again. And this is what we found this time when we asked these questions. So there was an increase in the number of young people feeling safe. There was actually an increase in all the wellbeing indicators. There was one decrease which was included, which went down to 93. So I have to say that we're absolutely delighted with these results. They are very strong, and what it tells me as the leader of pastoral support is that young people in William Wood feel supported, and we do feel that we're getting it right for every child. These are just some of our interventions, just to give you a flavour of what I mean by an intervention. We run group interventions, so we very quickly realised that wellbeing is not a one-size-fits-all. You have to have a variety of interventions available, and you have to have different interventions when you're dealing with prevention, for example. So that would more be a universal support, and a lot of that be delivered through the PSHE curriculum. We then have to have early interventions which are targeted, and crisis support. But here are some of the group supports that we offer. More group supports. So we have an ASC boys group and an ASC girls group to support young people who have a diagnosis of autism. Moving on to our individual supports, youth counsellor, educational psychologist. We work extensively with partners. This is just one of our partners, Swan. We also work with Women's Aid, Hemmet Greif, the Family Wellbeing Service, social work, CAMS. These are other individual supports. We have key people, peer mentors at our 6th year who have been trained to support young people in 1st year. The pastoral team have all been trained in Let's Introduce Anxiety Management, which is a targeted support for young people suffering from anxiety and stress. We work closely with young carers. We ran a parent conference, and we have been running a parent conference since 2015. It's highly evaluated by parents, and we want to support parents to support young people. Basically, we're looking at building capacity and empowering parents to support their children. In 2019, we, hearing from the parents what they wanted in terms of a parent conference, they wanted an input in managing anxiety, so how they support their own children with anxiety, dealing with grief, loss and change, internet safety and managing social media, and it was evaluated very highly. And here's the evaluations here. Now, I've not put up the statistics for the conference in 2020. We completed that remotely because obviously the connectivity that you can have through the digital infrastructure that's been created. And this year we sent workshops, video workshops out to all of our parents, and 95% of them evaluated and reported back and told us 95% of them said they found it useful and it would be something that they would use. Getting to the end now, last thing, but by no means the least important, picking up on what Siobhan said, pupils have to be at the heart of any programme that delivers wellbeing for them. They have to be at the centre of that. So we absolutely co-design our health and wellbeing curriculum and the interventions with pupils. We ask them what they need in order to have positive mental health and positive wellbeing, and we are delighted that they are more than happy to get involved and lead on that. And finally, this is my final slide. I know that I'm time committed here, so support for staff, monthly supervision for the principal teachers delivering Liam. It's really important that teachers get supervision when they're delivering this curriculum and these interventions. We work very closely with our school chaplains actually, and they offer supervision for all staff, including non-teaching staff. We have weekly staff meditation and mindfulness sessions and fitness sessions, so we take staff wellbeing very seriously at William Wood High School. And thank you very much for listening, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Shirley, I think what we'll maybe do is just take questions at the end of the presentations.
No problem.
And then probably back through Siobhan is probably easiest, given that I know that you're meeting with Education Scotland. So we'll move straight into Anthony's presentation.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for inviting me along this morning. It's great to have the opportunity to talk to you about getting it right for every child in St Mark's Primary. We can't have every child in some of these photographs, we can't squeeze them all in, but I think these images give a lovely flavour of some of the experiences that the children have been having recently, not just within the school, but getting out and about in the community there, doing their bikeability as well. And you know, Siobhan touched on in the introduction the importance of the joined up approach when talking about GIRFEC. And I want to preface the presentation by saying that I'm very aware whenever talking about what we're doing in St Mark's, the we is very much all the support that comes from beyond the school as well, from the education department, from our colleagues in educational psychology, social work, active schools, family first. I've been very struck as a head teacher new to the local authority by the fantastic support that's in place, and that when we are getting it right for the children, it's very much a joined up and collective approach. The vision statement from the plan for the next 3 years, I think, is perfectly pitched. Of course, it acknowledges that GIRFEC principle of children fulfilling their potential, but also that word hope really stands out, not just because it's in capital letters, but because it's so necessary at the moment when perhaps some of the hope that children have has faltered. And I'm hopeful that you will get a sense of hope from some of the progress that you'll hear about this morning. When thinking about GIRFEC, the universal support that Shirley referred to there as well is key. I mean, that's underpinned by our Catholic Charter and the positive nurturing relationships. And sometimes when talking about nurturing relationships, that can be hard to quantify, but we've really tried to consciously own this as a school in the last year or so in terms of staff professional learning around nurturing approaches in partnership with educational psychology and utilising the fantastic support from the Healthier Minds team, but also building the children's capacity to be not only nurtured but nurturing individuals. Education Scotland's resource Compassionate Connected Classroom has been hugely successful this year in the school in building the children's empathy and giving them an insight as young people into adversity in other people's lives and how we might respond to that in a more nuanced way. And we're seeing a qualitative shift in terms of some of those relationships around the school, and it's so heartening. But also, as well as relationships, we've looked at rigour in terms of our teaching and learning, because we know if we're getting the curriculum right, often we're getting it right for the children. So we've been well supported by the Education Authority to deliver professional learning for staff and had a fresh look at how we do quality assurance in the school so that we're offering a consistency of approach throughout to our teaching and learning. And that's really underpinned as well by relevance. The three different R's perhaps from a more traditional view of relationships, rigour and relevance. These motivating and engaging contexts for learning that the children have been entering into this year have been pivotal in really hooking them into their learning, especially at a time when it's been interrupted by remote learning. There could be a danger that they lose that passion and that enthusiasm for learning. But you just need to look at some of our primary 7 pupils here who I think are a wonderful example of children who've been supported to hook into something where that wellbeing indicator around achieving and feeling included. They came back after last summer interested in Black Lives Matters. They wanted to find out more than just, why are footballers taking the knee at football? They wanted to go deeper into this issue and really understand it. And the skills that the children have developed from this particular piece of learning have been fantastic. We have seen a really interesting development in those skills as we move into the World War II topic they did this term and making connections between the atrocities of the Holocaust and some of the issues connected back to historical slavery and racism in American society that they'd explored in the first term. And what we're seeing is that by hooking them in and having that really engaging context, the skills take care of themselves, and we hope that in time, we will see a real lift in attainment as well as we continue to get it right with those contexts. Sorry, Leanne, could you put on the next slide if possible? I'm sorry, I'm still seeing the same slide. Is it possible to move on to the next one? I can possibly share it from here if that helps.
Do you want to try that, Anthony?
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, no problem, Mark. Can I just check you're seeing that?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Anthony.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. And in terms of targeted support, we have been fortunate to work with the Reading Recovery team, and the support they have given our teachers who've really led on this in school. We recognised after lockdown that we had a number of children coming into primary 2 who are non-readers, and whilst we understood some of the reasons behind that, it was obviously much higher than we would wish for. So in terms of our approach in daily literacy learning, a new approach with our primary 2 pupils, which had been piloted last year in Cardivar Primary School with great success. We were delighted to be involved in that, and we saw a reduction in 37% of primary 2 children as non-readers down to 7% non-readers. And what that equates to actually in numerical terms is 3 pupils by that stage, all of whom continued to receive support. But we saw an average increase in instructional level of the books the children were able to read, but importantly increased independent and collaborative skills. And I think that's when we know we're really getting it right for our children. If we can see those skills embedded at a very early stage in the primary school, then we can trust that they're really going to flourish as they come through. Other targeted interventions that we have implemented include our greenhouse room, where children with a range of additional support needs are supported for some time out of class to have a different environment and a slightly different approach to some of their learning in order to support them. And also our Treasure Island room, which is our nurture room, our nurture class for both infant and upper school. Some of the metrics which are telling us that we are getting it right with these interventions include increased attendance of pupils whose attendance perhaps was more sporadic in the past, a significant reduction in incidents, and also pupils meeting many targets set for them, and in some cases no longer requiring those interventions. And we share the hope of the parent at the bottom there who's fed back to us around the hope that this support can continue in our school for some time. And we finish on that note of hope because we listen to our children. We really listen to them. It comes back to those relationships we spoke to at the start. We know them well. They talk to us. There's lots of different ways we gather their views. And in this most recent questionnaire, these are some of the things the children told us that they hope for. They don't want to be at home. They've tried remote learning twice, and whilst there were many positives about that, they want to be here. They want to be in school with their friends and their teachers and all of the staff. But also they're telling us some things that are so heartening and suggest that we are getting it right. They are starting to have that growth mindset and to really want to take on challenges. They want to get outdoors. They want to be in the environment. And when you look at that ambition at the bottom there, they want climate change to stop. Well, there's the top story from this morning's breakfast news about the COP26 summit and coming to Glasgow. And our young people are really engaged in that agenda, and they really believe they can make a difference in our world. And that's a great sign that we're getting it right, that they care about learning, they care about the world, and they really want to make a difference. So I hope that has given you some hope this morning, folks. And I'm more than happy to take any questions in relation to any of those interventions or the support that was discussed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I think 2 very illuminating and hopeful presentations, and certainly brought to life for me what we do in terms of getting it right for every child, because very often we see things in black and white and we're delivered reports at committee, but I also think it's wonderful when we have practitioners like yourselves hearing about the work that's going on in our schools. So I'd like to invite comments and questions because we're asked to note and comment on the report. Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Kane. I think 2 excellent presentations tying in fully with the report and getting it right for every child. And I think the most illuminating thing, as you mentioned, Chair, is the fact that we don't just educate children in terms of getting to an end result and getting an exam pass, etc. We're giving them a skill set and a skill set hopefully for life that they will utilise in numerous ways. So the presentations were excellent. I think it shows how much work our teachers do in our schools and with our children on a daily basis, and that it's not just in front of a blackboard teaching numeracy or literacy. It's a much wider concept, ensuring their well-being in a whole manner of ways. And I think it's great, and those presentations certainly highlight that. It would be good, I think, if those presentations could perhaps be shared, not just with our committee, but perhaps with our parent councils and even on the council's website, because I think for parents to know how much work goes in our schools is extremely beneficial for them as well. And it shows how much care is there for the children across East Renfrewshire, and that's absolutely fantastic to see. And that shared experience that we go on to touch with in future items on the agenda this morning, and about the West Collaborative, how much work is going on across the country to deliver that. And I know that we play a huge part in doing that and leading the way in many of these areas to take that forward. So thank you very much, both Shirley and Anthony, for those presentations and for the fantastic work that you do and deliver across our schools. That's very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, Convener. The statistics that come back about people's feeling safe, included, and I think we all recognise there's some very positive increase in satisfaction there. How do we establish these percentages? Is this done through a very carefully worded questionnaire?
So I think about that was a kind of Williamwood context. So I don't know if Mrs. Gibson wants to say anything about that, and then
Mrs. Yes, it is. It is done through a carefully worded questionnaire. I've worked on the questionnaire with the educational psychologists. And for example, so how do we establish if a young person feels safe? So we give them what we mean by safe. So you do have to explain it. So we ask them, do you feel safe at school? Yeah. So they can say, yeah, they feel safe at school. We also put it to them that if they don't feel safe, they know who to speak to when they're feeling like that. So that still means that you're safe because you know how to access support. So it is a very carefully worded questionnaire. That specific part of the questionnaire actually came from the Scottish Government. They've produced a questionnaire for young people and parents. Incidentally, I gave the same questions to our school parents. 99% of our parents believe that their young people are safe in Williamwood High School, in our school. And I actually contacted the one or two parents that had ticked no, and there was very good reason for it. It was their personal circumstances. They were worried about the young person coming to school and another parent meeting them at school and taking them without, agreement and things like that. So all of our parents also felt that the young people were safe at school. That is a really important thing, that young people do feel safe at school. But it is a very carefully worded questionnaire, but it's been done in conjunction with the educational psychologists.
Thank you, Mrs. Gibson. Dr. Ratter, did you want to come in on that specific point? And come back to you, Councillor Wallace.
Yeah, no, just to maybe follow up on Councillor Wallace's question, we also have a rolling survey of questions, some of which would be similar to the ones that Mrs. Gibson put up, that all our schools do on a sort of 4-year cycle, and they're based on the Education Scotland questionnaires that they would use as part of the inspection process as well. And that allows us to do a bit of benchmarking in terms of the national picture, in terms of some of those statistics as well, and making sure that we're not just creating a question that maybe gives us a false understanding of exactly how children are feeling.
Yeah, Councillor Wallace.
Okay, as I'm sure we're all agreed, the 99% is terrific. It's the 1% is why we do all this. When we get these responses, is there a pattern as to what it is that pupils are not feeling safe? Is there a common theme? Is it family issues? Is it school issues? Is it just a general feeling of not feeling safe? Any particular reason? Thanks.
Thank you.
When I followed that up with some of our young people, it was very specific issues in terms of that young person and their family. I can give you a for example if you would like, because I think the other thing, I'm really glad you're asking this, because I think the other thing is that you know that we follow these things up, but because you're absolutely right, it's see that 1% is someone speaking to them. And can I just say that on the day that our young people complete the questionnaire, if someone were to say in that questionnaire and respond that they didn't feel safe, they would be spoken to that day before they left our school building. We don't sit and wait and think, right, once we've added all the results together, we'll get round to speaking to that young person. There are red questions, I call them, trigger questions. And if young people respond in a specific way, they're spoken to immediately, certainly before they leave school. But I've got a couple of examples for you. A young person that did respond to say she didn't feel safe. When I asked her about it, her mum had been sectioned. So she didn't feel safe because her mum was in hospital and her mum was a major support for her. Another young person didn't feel safe because she was worried that her parent was going to come and take her out of school because there had been a kind of acrimonious split. And sometimes young people don't feel safe because of their own mental health and their own vulnerabilities. So it's about, you know, suicidal ideation, sadness, that kind of thing. But the good thing is it gives you an opportunity to open up the dialogue. But also reassuring for me was those young people were already on my radar. So I already knew about those young people. But it just gives you another opportunity to offer them the reassurance and that you are there to help them, and you listen to them and you support them and you're there to offer that support so that they know that you're the constant there if there's instability in some way in their life, and that you can possibly help with that.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for that exchange. Councillor Lafferty.
Okay, convener. I won't be long. I certainly support the very positive comments from yourself and the leader of the council. I'm very pleased to see the evidence of partnership working. This is not just about East Renfrewshire ploughing on alone. Well, we've done that in the past and done very well. I'm particularly pleased to see the partnership with Children First to support care experienced young people, which I think is crucial to bring them back into the mainstream. But it's quite clear that this is, as well as dealing with the broader composition of a class, it's focused on young people. It's meeting the needs of our young people, healthier minds, and the right support and the right time, I think is quite crucial. Thank you, Leader of the committee.
Thank you. Don't tell Tony. Thank you for that contribution. Councillor Bamforth.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank, as well as Leader, for both presentations. I think they were excellent, and show the wide range of supports being provided to our young people from nursery age upwards. But I'm also particularly pleased to see the support and the training that teachers are being given to help them to support our young people, because, you know, we're relying on them to be to look out for indicators and to support these young people, but also for the teachers' health and well-being, because it is a huge responsibility on teachers. So thank you, and I look forward to seeing the full presentations when I have time to look over them more carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm conscious that Mrs. Gibson has another meeting to go to, and it's a very busy day, obviously, with schools being back. So I think we will just thank both Mrs. Gibson and Mr. Hutchison and allow them to depart. And I think we've had a very good discussion there. I think in line with the leaders' comments, we can perhaps arrange for those presentations to be circulated and made available. And we're happy to note the progress. So thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. We shall move then to item 4, which is a report on the Customer Service Excellence Award. Mrs. Collins.
Thank you, Convener. The purpose of this report is to advise committee on the outcome of our most recent Customer Service Excellence Assessment of the Education Department. The Customer Service Excellence Standards tests in great depth those areas that research has indicated are a priority for customers, with particular focus on delivery, timeliness, information, professionalism and staff attitude. There is also an emphasis placed on developing customer insight, understanding the user's experience and a robust measurement of customer satisfaction. The Customer Service Excellence Assessment is undertaken on an annual basis. The previous review for the Education Department took place in November 2019. This year's review was delayed due to the global pandemic. In addition, in light of current restrictions, the assessor undertook the review online. The assessment involved reviewing a range of documentary evidence as well as reviewing practice and interviewing staff, partners and customers. The assessment was undertaken in 2 stages. The first stage was a review of our self-assessment evidence presented by the department. The second stage was to review the actual service delivered in establishments by examining a customer journey. This was focused on approaches to providing continuity of learning during the COVID pandemic across our schools and services and included early learning childcare, primary, secondary and adult learning. The outcome of the review was our continued award of the Customer Service Excellence Standard. The assessment report, which is included in Appendix 1 of this paper, noted, "You have very high levels of customer satisfaction and these continue to improve over time. There are many and varied strategies in place to engage with customers to determine their views on service provision and ensure that high levels of customer insight are maintained. The commitment to customer focus comes from the senior leadership team in the organisation and has become embedded within your service in meaningful ways. The report recognises the department's continuing commitment to provide excellent services and to seeking continuous improvement. It identified 31 areas of Compliance Plus. A Compliance Plus indicates behaviours or practices which exceed the requirements of the standard and are viewed as exceptional or an exemplar to others. The number of areas of Compliance Plus had previously increased over the course of annual reassessments. For example, we get 10 in 2015, 26 in 2019 and 31 this year. These areas are set out in the report and include an ethos of consultation being integral to continuous improvement, including during changes made at pace in response to the pandemic, staff being empowered to act in a person-centred and a customer-focused way. The report also identifies one area for improvement in relation to communication between the department and other education providers such as colleges and young people. This will be taken forward by our vocational learning team. Elected members are asked to note the continuing high standard of this award in recognition of the department's high quality services and approve this approach to ensuring the department's sustained commitment to continuous improvement. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Mrs. Collins. Again, a very strong report, and I think particularly want to note the number of areas moving up to 31 in terms of what we've attained and achieved. So happy to welcome comments or questions on the report. No. I mean, I think we can, oh, sorry, Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to echo your comments and to note the report, I think again another outstanding report, and it falls in with the presentations in the previous report because it highlights the high standards that we've come to expect, but it also shows that we don't rest on our laurels. We continue to make improvements and we continue to do what we can in order to ensure that that service continues, that it continues to improve and that we deliver across all the areas that we need to. So I think, yeah, this is another example of the Education Department and the outstanding work that they do. And even, you know, with situations and the responses to the pandemic, it starts to highlight that the core work that was there beforehand, that the experience and the learning that we will even take from the COVID-19, from the pandemic, will continue to factor in and as we move forward. So it's great to see that these reports and the assessments that we're getting have been recognised across the board, and that's estimate to the huge amount of work that's been done across all our departments and in conjunction with our residents, our pupils, etc. across the board. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts. Councillor Wallace, for you.
I'll go off mute now.
That's not a problem.
I've got ventriloquist at the back here. Right. The yes. Sorry. Did I pick up correctly from this that the number of vocational courses on offer has been reduced? And if that's the case, why is that so? Thanks.
Thanks, Mrs. Collins.
I think when we moved into the global pandemic that colleges closed and it took a wee bit of time to see what we could deliver in person and remote, but overall the courses have actually increased, and I plan to bring a report to the next Education Committee given a DYW update, and it will show that increase and indeed our plans moving forward. But any sort of dip was temporarily because of basically the restrictions, and it did take a wee bit of time for us all to re-engage in partnership working in those first few weeks. But the report will highlight the continued excellent practice by our vocational team.
Thank you. I think that report will be very welcome and very helpful. Okay. We agree then to note the report's contents and to approve the continuous approach to improvement. Okay, yep. Thank you very much, colleagues. Okay, we move to our final item this morning then, which is a report on the interim action plan for the West Partnership Improvement Collaborative. Dr. Ratta.
Thank you, Convener. Elected members will recall that they considered the progress of the West Partnership Regional Improvement Collaborative and also the content of the West Partnership's Improvement Plan for 2020 to 2023 in the October Education Committee meeting. And that plan set out the sort of key areas for collaborative action to bring about improvement across the 8 local authorities of the Glasgow City region. It detailed those areas where that collaboration would be beneficial and add value, that it wasn't about all schools and all local authorities participating in all the activities that are on offer, but it would set out clearly the offer that would add value to our individual schools. And given the context in August at that point of the COVID-19 pandemic, a major aim of that plan and the work of the partnership was to address both recovery and renewal. However, given the ongoing restrictions and the impact of COVID-19, in January 2021, an interim action plan was drawn up to address the challenges that schools were facing. In particular, the challenge around delivering the remote learning offer, with most children and young people unable at that point to attend school. The interim action plan, which is Appendix 1 of your papers, is based almost entirely on that existing plan, which elected members had seen, but it recognised that need to prioritise and to accelerate certain key areas with other aspects paused temporarily or placed on a maintenance agenda. Committee will note that the interim plan has a focus on 7 key priority areas, which were considered to be the ones that were most relevant to our schools. You'll see there's a real focus on a number of leadership supports, including virtual learning networks and support for our deputy and head teachers, a focus on health and well-being, and the acceleration of the provision of online content through the West Online School. The interim plan has been considered and endorsed at the Glasgow City Region Education Committee, with the recommendation that each local authority also considers the report through its own local governance arrangements. So elected members are asked to note and comment on the report. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Director. Yes, I think again, a comprehensive report which shows progress made in these challenging times. Can I invite any comments or questions? No, I mean, I think there's a willingness, I think, to take this as read. I think a lot of work has gone in. I think I'm particularly impressed by the online offering in terms of schools and the partnership and sharing across the West, and very much keen to see how that progresses as we go forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so happy to note the contents of the report, colleagues.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Education Committee this morning, and I'll let you all get back on the campaign trail in the sunshine. Or, oh, sorry, Councillor Wallace, were you having technical difficulty?
No, I'm back again. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you. Did you want
Just to
to
say, convener, I'm just, you've got a sort of ministerial look about you, which would suggest that the Renfrewshire South campaign is going to your liking. Would that be the case?
Yes, I thought I'd better put a suit on, and make an effort, which is a shame given the weather. I'm sure we'd all rather be in shorts. Well, thank you, colleagues.
Would you like me to minute that, convener?
Politics of the election, let's say farewell. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Tatty, bye.